guys. Can you see me, hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Great. So let's begin today's session. Sit comfortably. Keep your back and neck straight. Very gently close your eyes and start observing your breath. Watch the natural flow of the breathing. Slowly shift the attention to the body. Make sure you are correctly aligned in your posture. Your body should be comfortable and stable. Slowly come back to your breathing and begin to deepen the breath. Go for slow, long, and deep inhalations. Slow, long, and deep exhalations. Prepare the mind for chanting Om 3 times, followed by 3 Shantis with a deep inhalation of Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Join your palms together. Begin to rub your palms together. Keep the palms on the eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, Open up your eyes, come back with a big smile. Namaste. Let us begin today's session. So today we are going to again talk about the three gunas. Yesterday we started with the three qualities of nature. And we were discussing the lowest one of them all, which is tamas, right? Tamas, tamas. Right? So tamas is mostly connected with all the qualities which you have to avoid. Yes. So the sense of ignorance, the sense of lethargy, dullness, darkness, a lot of depressive kind of energy that we've experienced. So it's not that it's a constant state, but during our day there's sometimes when we feel really low, right? So that is when tamas is going to you have to understand that it is the tamas quality which has started dominating your mind and your body, right? So it's just a temporary phase, right? Depression is only clinically diagnosed and it is for a long period of time, right? So if you ever go to any if you ever go to get diagnosed, they have their own metrics to diagnose and certain tests. So you cannot say that depression is always present if we have tamas in us, right? It's just temporarily, there's a point in our day where we feel low, right? So it's very common for everybody, that doesn't mean you are depressed, but this quality which makes you feel low, that is the quality of tamas, right? So how can we get out of this, tamasic uh, kind of attitude? Or it can either show up in a body, on your body or on your mind, right? So both ways. If your thoughts are weighing you down, means mind is having that quality, and sometimes you will feel like not getting up, right? Very lethargic on the body level, right? So then tamas is dominating your body. So tamas, first thing I told you, it's associated with black color. So you can start, uh, changing the colors that are around you, right? So, and when you become consciously aware of this thing, so of course it will act as a constant reminder to you that, okay, I have to, come out of this dull state of mind, right? Second thing is the food. So we talked about sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic food. So try to reduce the tamasic food in your day. The second way of dealing with tamas is this, that you go ahead and change your diet or shift your diet a little bit, so that again, it whatever you eat, it has a very significant impact on both your body and the state of your mind, right? So second solution for tamas is to change the diet. Then third solution for tamas is the practices that you guys are doing, right? So shat karma, so cleansing, and then mostly asan practice. Asan practice really helps. So suppose someday you are feeling very, very lethargic and you just push yourself enough to, go to your mat and do 1 or 2 rounds of Surya Namaskar, you will immediately, begin to feel more active, both on the mental and the physical level, right? So exercise in general, but yoga, the asan, and all of these things specifically will help you to come out of this ignorance, right? Because tamas has no movement, right? Tamas is like still. Okay, so you have to bring about some movement in the tamasic attitude. You have to move the body, you have to make yourself more active, try to participate or take up some responsibilities in your house which you feel you can do, right? You can fulfill those things. So it will help you at least for that moment. So, if throughout your day you feel very tamasic, but you have to go and take a 1 hour class, or you have to go and get something done, so it helps you to break that you know um, inactiveness for the of the body, and it allows you to prepare for it. So maybe if you are going for a 1 hour hobby, 15 minutes before you will get ready, and then 15 minutes after also you will have the after impact, right? So at least 1.5 hour during the day you will be able to beat that attitude. In fact, the impact will stay for a longer period of time only, but minimum I'm saying, right? So at least 1.5 hour in your day you are then utilizing, right? So it helps you, these things really help you to beat tamas in your life, which is actually a very very prominent thing in the modern world, because our diet is totally tamasic, right? It's all the packed foods and food items and fast food, junk food, it's so easily available that most of us are actually stuck in tamas only, right? Because we are consuming that, and trends change. So dark colors are becoming more and more, people prefer to wear dark colors, and especially black. People have a lot of fascination with black. I have seen this thing. Even I am one of those people. I'm very fascinated by black, right? But it has an impact on the state of your mind, right? So you have to make a conscious effort to move or change this thing, right? Then the second quality which Lord Krishna he mentions. So if you want to read about three gunas, you can go to chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita. There, an in-depth discussion has been done, right, on all of these qualities. The second is Rajas, Rajas. So Rajas is considered to be a little bit higher than tamas, because at least in Rajas you are very active. So you will find some people around you, they are so active. They are getting all the work done. Everything is like just fine. They are fulfilling their responsibilities, but even then there is this sense of restlessness that keeps them gripped. So this is the quality of Rajas. So Rajas is very active, dynamic kind of energy, movement. So again, we need Rajas in our day because that helps us to fulfill our responsibilities. If you study, you put all of your energy there. If you have to get some work done at home, you put your energy there. If you put your profession, you put your energy there. So Rajas is a very important part of our day, right? But again, it's a very like overactive kind of energy. So people who generally have anxiety or any such issues, so ADHD, all of these things means Rajas has come into a lot of dominance within them, right? So when one gun dominates, the other two get suppressed, all right, generally. But you can also be a combination of two. So suppose my body is very tamasic, so I'm very lazy, and then my mind is rajasic. So my mind is running. I'm feeling very anxious, but I'm not able to move. So you can generally we are a combination of two. One shows up on the mind and one shows up on the body. So sometimes people are very very active in nature, but the mind is very very dull. They are doing the task, but they are very very dull on a mental level. So again, this is a combination of two. So like this, you can form all the combinations. Like in three doshas, you would have formed various combinations. No, the three combinations you guys can form, right? So at least one of them always gets suppressed out of the three, right? So a Rajasic person is very very ambitious in nature. They have a lot of the only problem with Rajas is that they are attached. Okay, so they have a lot of desires, but then there is this sense of attachment that comes along with it, right? So you will see that they are generally they have some greed, right? They are very selfish in nature, very ambitious, goal oriented. Uh, they have a vision, but again, the attachment, it pulls them down, right? Other qualities, yes, this intense attachment, passionate. So you will come across a lot of passionate people, right? So passion, um, because this word passion has attachment along with it, it's not healthy. Okay, a sattvic person is compassionate, not passionate, right? So passion is the quality of rajas. Yeah, ego is very high. So for a Rajasic person, if you ever come across somebody who is quite ambitious, and you just, happen to um, cross their path in like any kind of way, right? So you will see their ego gets hurt very easily. So, they do not like that thing. So for a Rajasic person, ego remains very, very high. So Rajas is generally associated with all the colors except black and white, right? But majorly red uh, denotes Rajas. So if you wear a lot of red, right? So you can, if you want to come out of, if you feel you have Rajas like qualities within you. So in order to come out of Rajas, first thing again, you can start working with the colors. Colors have immense impact on us. In fact, there are some therapies that go on the basis of only colors, right? So first thing, you can try to reduce red in your life, not like um, for all the other colors also, of course, Rajas denotes them, but not too much. Red is the main color, right? So try to get rid of the red things, right? In your wardrobe or around you, right? Then second is Rajak food. I told you, try to avoid heavy, like, or very, very, um, spicy food, heavy spices in your food. So those will also again help you to come out of the Rajak quality. Okay, and then third thing is for Rajas, you know, so Tamas does not even have the motivation to go towards spiritual practices, but Rajas is okay about them. Okay, so not a believer, not a non-believer, right? So, or they could also be a believer, right? But they are not able to understand how to channel this energy, right? So for a Rajasic personality going into seva, right, or service, where they are not expecting anything out of that service, right? They're just going to help other people. Maybe any cause that you believe in, you guys can go ahead and participate more in those things. You can go for more charity and donation, right? So these things will, without any return, right? So when you volunteer, you do not expect anything in return. You are just giving your services, right? So Rajas has the energy to move towards Sattva, but they have to direct or channel that energy properly. So the proper modes are these only. If you are into bhakti, you can go for kirtans, you can go for dancing, right? So it helps you to get free from that attachment, at least for that moment, right? Then you can also go into surrender towards God, Ishwar Pranidhan, so surrendering yourself to God. So bhakt, again, through the various activities like kirtans, or if you go for um, just listening, this go to discourses, so listening to the stories of the gods that you believe in. So this is doing what, it's channeling your energy. So your mind could have been running in all directions, but what you're doing, you are shifting your environment and you're giving that running mind the correct things to like ponder upon. Basically start changing the kinds of books you read, and what you watch. Again, Rajas can change that, because Rajas again has the motivation to do all of these things, right? So they can slowly, nudge towards all of these things. These are the solutions that Rajas can really gain a lot of benefit out of, like, basically these things, right? um Yeah. Yes, directing towards good work. Yeah. So let's come to sattva. So sattva is the highest quality of all three. So for us, we have to move towards sattva, right? If you want to be, properly enjoy the things in life, then you have to move towards a sattvic attitude. So sattva is very, illuminating light energy, lightness. So with sattva, you get lighter. It's like oil or ghee. It always has the quality to stay above the water, right? Tamas is like the stones, it will always go down. If you, throw the stone in the water, it will go down. It will go towards the base of the water body, right? So sattvic is very, very light, luminous in nature. There is a lot of wisdom that exists. So not just acquiring the knowledge, it begins to, seep down into your behavior, right? So whatever you are studying, when you implement these things, you will see that you are, moving more towards the sattvic qualities, right? The sattvic person, very calm, very peaceful, seems to be very, very, happy, right? Happy-go-lucky kind of person, right? And sattva is also like, if your body has the sattvic nature, you will not have any disease, right? You will be free from toxins, right? So for us, we are very, very far off from sattva right now, right? So the mind has a very, very positive uh, attitude, right? So you are an optimist, right? You see a glass half full. Always you try to find the good in things, try to find the good in people. You don't believe that uh, the negative kind of mindset does not come in. You're mostly positive. Everything is good, right? So sattvic person will have these kinds of qualities, right? Sattvic is associated with white colors. You will see a lot of spiritual leaders, they generally only wear white. They mostly try to wear white. So because that reinforces the sattvic quality. So if you want to move toward more towards sattva, you can start eating that kind of food, incorporate more white into your daily wardrobe or the things that you have around you, right? And yes, do go for meditation. Helps you to work on the mind. It helps you to cleanse the impurities and the defilements of the mind. All of your anger, hatred, jealousy, these are defilements and impurities generated by the mind, right? So if you want to move more towards sattva, meditation works more uh, towards the sattvic development of a sattvic attitude, right? So in like where I was studying, so we had a very fixed kind of we had a uniform basically. So we were supposed to wear blue lowers and white t-shirts, and throughout the time we were studying, literally we used to show up like this only, for all the time that I was doing and studying you for such a long time. Like all other things from my wardrobe got away, right? And they were sidelined, and we used to wear the white t-shirt and blue lower. And I never understood why they made us do this thing, because when you are studying, you have this very you're told, you're given rules and regulations, you want to run away from that thing, right? And my mind, it's always been that way. So I used to always think, why this white, and then eventually we started studying Bhagavad Gita, and then I understood, okay, that is why everything around here, so a lot of things around there were white, so all the walls were white. So I was just like, okay, now this makes sense to me, why everything, why we are also supposed to wear white t-shirts. So without realizing, it did have a very, very strong impact on like I believe on my practice and on the practice of everybody around me as well. It had a very strong and deep impact because um, all other colors, so we used to like be there the entire day. All right, so all other colors, they were out of our range, because we used to get back home, we used to be so tired. We used to just sleep, and then next morning, early morning, we used to go back. So mostly we were wearing white only. So it actually kept the mind more focused, more concentrated. So sattvic personality, will be very easily focused and concentrated on whatever they are doing, because they start, meditation and all of this starts becoming a part of the life, right? And when you read Bhagavad Gita, you will see that even though Krishna ji, he explains all three of them, he says finally when he is about to end the 14th chapter, before that he um, you know says that you have to come out of the influence of all these three, right? So now, coming out of the influence, what does this thing mean? When he was saying this thing, the yogi, the one who is free from sufferings, he comes out of all of them. So, what he essentially meant when he was saying this was that the reactiveness of the mind goes away, right? So, even if these three qualities exist, so suppose you are having a very tamasic kind of attitude at one point of time in your day, right? So, your mind begins to react to that thing, right? So when Krishnaji says that who is the yogi, or who is the one who is free from all these things, he said that even if they exist, you come in an observational state, right? And if they don't exist, again, you are just observing, right? So if it's driving you towards that, the yogi comes in an observational state, doesn't generate any hatred or anger towards that the existence of that thing, and nor goes into the appreciation. So when sattva comes in, you might begin to appreciate, right? So the yogi doesn't even go into the appreciation of the like good quality setting in the highest of all three. When it sets in, the yogi doesn't go and be like, now I'm sattvic, right? The yogi is simply sitting by the side, observing however the nature is changing. And this is the freedom that you gain, because all of these things, they are going to happen, right? But if you are constantly stuck, you get burdened. We carry so much burden in our lives because of the influence of all these three. So yogi releases the burden. When the burden is released, it's so like, um, the yogi is just so peaceful and calm, because there is no other thing you have to do. You just have to come in an observational state, right? So now Rajas, Sattva, and Tamas, all three of them, even though, so today's work for you guys is one thing, you have to figure out which two are dominant in you, right? Or which one is dominant in you. So it could be either one, it could be that your mind and body both are Rajasic, right? So that can also happen. So Rajas is dominant for you, but it could be the other way around also, two are dominant. So first work for you is today, you have to figure out what your personality type is based on the three gunas. And then I have given you a lot of solutions. So whatever you guys feel, once you recognize which personality you have, whatever you feel you can change, you can already begin the work on that thing, right? Begin on changing that, right? Second thing, during the entire day, these qualities also change. All right. So in earlier times, you will see there was the practice of students leaving their house, going to the Gurukul where the teacher used to live, and staying with the teacher, right? So over there is a very fixed kind of timetable, right? So when you come over here also, if you ever come for an offline course, there is a proper schedule in the school. So all the students, their classes start from 6 in the morning, right? And then the classes go on till the evening, right? So uh, why specifically, morning is given so much relevance? Everybody says, wake up in the morning, do the yogic practices. It's because in the morning time, sattva is dominant, right? So when you wake up, uh, around in between 4 to 8 a.m., sattva is active. Okay, so whatever tasks you do during this time, they are going to be very, very productive for you, right? And all of these things you can also read in a lot of biographies, autobiographies of people. They wake up in the morning, they have their routines, and they do the tasks that are most important to them in the morning, right? And all of this is because nature is very supportive at that point of time. So if you sit during your day, you do meditation, you will see your mind is fighting again and again, right? But if you wake up in the morning and you do meditation, what you will observe is you are able to stay with the object more easily, right? So you are not fighting, the mind is calm, right? And then you begin meditation, right? So if you want to actually do yoga as a spiritual practice, this is the best time for you to practice, because the mind has to be calm, right? What we are doing today, we are trying to calm the mind through these practices, but these practices require the mind to be calm already, right? So if you want to experience that, wake up during this time and do the yogic practices. It will have a very different impact on you, right? Then after 8 a.m. in your day, Rajas begins to set in, right? So you do all your activities then, right? In earlier times, people used to go to work after 8. Right now, also, you will see most workspaces, this, start their day 7, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. So there was this basic understanding that, okay, this is the time that the human being is going to get active, right? So after 8 a.m., Rajas sets in. So all of the tasks that you have to get done, right? All of your responsibilities, you can utilize this time, right? To get all those tasks done, right? Then comes the tamas. So around 12 p.m., the tamas begins to set in. So just now when your philosophy class will end, little bit, you feel, because if you start your day from such an early time till 12, tamas begins to set in, because now is the time the body needs a little bit of rest, right? So you need to rest a little. Then again, rajas begins to set in. So in a little while, again, after the body has received all complete rest, then rajas sets in for a short period of time in between, right? So then again, if you want to, so if you, this is actually how the ancient people, their timetables and everything, even if right now you go to any ashram, this is exactly the schedule that is followed, because they are more in sync with the nature, right? So then around 4 again in the afternoon, sattva begins to come back in, right? So that is why, during sunset also, all your yogic practices, they are very, very fruitful, right? Because this is the time that sattva becomes dominant, right? So around 4 o'clock, the sattva again begins to set in. So all of the tasks that you feel they are high priority in your life, you guys can go ahead and do those things at this time. They will again be very, very fruitful, right? And then as the night time begins to set in, right, then the tamas begins to dominate again, and this time the tamas dominates for a very long period of time. So you know um, um when you guys go to sleep, then the good quality of this sleep is supported by the level at which tamas is induced, right? So right now what we are doing, we are looking at our smartphones, we are giving our mind so much to think and ponder about. So even though the body feels like sleeping, we are directing the mind towards more activeness when we engage in our phones or engage on social media. That is why in a lot of places you will again see this thing that people who leave their smartphone around 2-3 hours, this around this bracket, they have a better quality of sleep. And if you keep looking at your phone till the time you are about to sleep, then again the quality of his sleep gets impacted, because that is the time the nature is saying that tamas has to dominate, and you're fighting that thing, right? So eventually it becomes a routine, right? So now you will say that, okay, I fall asleep late only, right? My clock is different only, right? Because you have accustomed your body to that thing, right? But if you see according to nature, this is how the nature is asking you to exist, right? That is why after sunset, a lot of people don't eat also, right? Because then it is the time for tamas to dominate, and tamas is like rest. It provides rest to your body, right? So try. You can also try to shift your schedule more according to the qualities, because each and every all of them are qualities only, right? So depending on what quality is dominating, you can do the tasks which are supported by it during the day, right? Any doubts in any of this? Any doubts in the three gunas?
Ma'am, I just want to cross check. So Sattvic time is only in the morning, 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And then Rajasic and Tamas keeps on coming and going. So Sattvic time is only once a day.
No, in the afternoon around 4 o'clock, again sattva begins to dominate, right?
Like
For
after 8, you said Rajas, and then after 12 p.m. Tamasic sets in, and our body looks for some rest. And then Rajas comes in again. So I want to know then where Sattvic comes in during the daytime.
4 o'clock, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon,
Mhm.
around that time, sattva again begins to, uh, gain more.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am,
So,
I would like to ask a question. Sorry to interrupt. So, as we are discussing about the timings for when the sattva sets in, so in one of the previous classes, we discussed that sunrise and sunset are the ideal time when you can practice meditation and yoga. So, is that evening time also considered to be a sattva time when we can actually practice the meditation, or it is just the 4 p.m. like you discussed ahead?
this is not a specific time that I'm giving for sattva quality, like I said, 4 to 8 a.m. So
Okay.
during this time, it's more dominant. Then again in the evening, after 4 a.m., this gets triggered. So you will see, till the sunset time, sattva is dominating, right? So till that time, I mean, sattva is there. So this timeline basically is very good for the practice. So last time, like I said, that sunset time is good, right? So this again, it's covered in the sattva quality only. So timeline is matching basically. Just sattva quality, I'm like giving you a broader timeline. So now if you just look at the moment of the sunset or the moment of the sunrise, it's very short period of time. But the quality is dominating for a longer period of time. So you can utilize this timeline basically to do the practices.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Uh, any other doubts from anyone?
No,
No.
ma'am.
I'll just briefly give you an example of how all three of them get confused, right? So now donating or giving charity is considered to be a very very good task, right? So in general, if you give to someone, right, it's considered to be a sattvic deed, right? But I'll just elaborate a little bit more on how it's a mixture of other qualities also, and the person who moves towards the purification understands the deeper impact, right, of the actions, right? So now given to someone who is in need is a good thing to do, right? So suppose I am crossing by and I find that there is a beggar, right? And I give the beggar some food or buy some food for them, or maybe give some clothes to them. So this deed, even though it has a sattvic, quality attached to it, where I am giving, there is also tamas involved in this donation, right? Now the question comes up how, right? So whatever food you give to the beggar, right? or if you give the clothes to a beggar, so you will see that food, it's required again and again, right? So the person is suffering, so you're helping them in for one time, right? If you give one meal, or suppose you sponsor the meals for a few months, right? Or you give the clothes, so clothes will also eventually, they will wear the clothes and eventually they will wear out, right? So you are eliminating the suffering, but only one suffering or only two sufferings, right? And that too only for a temporary period of time. So whatever you donate, it won't last forever, right? Most likely, most of the things that you will donate, they will not last for a very long period of time, right? We only, get rid of our clothes so easily in a short period of time. So even if somebody is making full use of the clothes, again it's going to wear out, right? So this thing where, this is the ignorance that is attached with the charity, right? So ignorance being that it's only ignorance in the sense that it's not going to eliminate all the sufferings. Now I'm not asking you not to do these deeds, right? You should, yes, charities are good. Whatever nature is attached to them, it's okay, but in general giving to someone is good, right? But I'm merely, because we are covering the three gunas, I'm merely highlighting that there is some other quality also attached to it, right? So this is a tamasic kind of donation, right? It's a mixture of sattva and tamas, right? Then a Rajasic person. So Rajasic people are very, very active, proactive, right? They are very participative in nature, right? So now what happens is, hypothetically, I'll take my example only, right? So I believe in some cause, right? So what I do, I go and give donation, right, over there. Now, when I give the donation, they say that if you donate more than this, we will, announce your name somewhere or your name will be written somewhere. And this is a very common thing that is happening in the world. I'm not giving an example out of the blue, right? So when you donate, you are given the reassurance by whoever you donate to that your name will be shown, your name will be announced, right? Whatever they tell you, right? And then on the day when all of the donations were supposed to be announced, they skipped your name, right? Or your name was not printed in the journal or the magazine that they give out, right? So what will happen? The person who has a Rajasic nature, they will get troubled by this, right? Because even though the donation is good, again, giving the donation is sattvic, right? But there is attachment of some desire or result with it, right? So there is some expectation that is attached to it. So the Rajasic person, they will be very offended. They will be like, I gave so much, they did not even give me this appreciation, or they could have at least done this thing or that thing, right? So this means that again, you have to look more closely and mindfully at your actions, right? Because it is a combination of two things, right? Then a purely sattvic kind of donation is generally towards, more of spiritual activities, right? So suppose, this happens a lot. So, you sponsor, your friend is going to, wants to attend some meditation workshop, or, a lot of people who come over here, their friends, they sponsor them. Like a lot of stories I've heard from a lot of students, their loved ones, they sponsor them, right? So this kind of donation, it could come in the form of you pushing someone towards this path, or you actually donating to some organization. Maybe you have your family has been connected to some guru and you follow their practices, right? So then you make the donation over there, right? This donation is considered to be purely sattvic in nature, because this donation is going to help someone get free from all of their suffering. It could be your close one who you are sponsoring, right? Or it could be the organization which, because of your donation, it is able to run, or it is able to acquire more things so that it is able to function more smoothly. So when this thing happens, when you put your energy. So money is also a form of energy only, right? So you're channeling your energy towards something which is going to free whoever is attaining that thing from not one or two sufferings, but from all the sufferings, right? And you are giving with a like no expectation kind of thing, right? You are just merely donating, right? That donation is considered to be purely sattvic in nature, right? So next time you do a deed which you feel that okay, this is very very good, right? Check more deeply, you know, is there some expectation attached with it, or is there, you know, no expectation attached with it? What kind of state of mind you are donating in? Again, that is also very important, the state of your mind when you're making the donation. If you are only donating, you know, because you know, this person helped me, or this thing might have costed the other person this much, right? Then again, even if you are giving towards a spiritual thing, that donation will not be spiritual, right? So there is a, you know, there are some courses that are going around which work purely on donation basis. So when people go over there and they donate at the end, their mind is such that they are like, okay, I stayed here for these many days, this is how much the food would have costed, right? And they make the donation on that basis, right? And I'm not saying their thinking is wrong, but the purpose of that donation lies in the purity, right? Then you donate because you benefited, and somebody who might come in the future, they might benefit from it, right? So that is why, you know, the intention counts the most, right? I keep on coming back to this thing only. Your intention when you are making the donation, it will count a lot. And now that you're aware of all three qualities, next time when you take an action like this, you know, check more deeply. Okay, be more mindful of the donation that or whatever you are planning to do, right? So any doubts in the concept of three gunas, anything I can clarify? All
No, ma'am.
right. Awesome. So chapter 14 and Bhagavad Gita, you guys can go ahead, read that very small chapter, right? So let's end our session for today. Yeah? Keep your back and neck straight. Sit comfortably. Very gently close your eyes. We will chant Om one time, followed by 3 Shantis. Take a deep inhalation for Om. Om. Shanti. 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 Join your palms together, gently bow down. Just a sense of gratitude towards everything we have. Begin to rub your palms together. Keep the palms on the eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes and come back with a big smile. Namaste, everyone. I will see all of you for your pranayam class in the afternoon. Take care, guys, and bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank